Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're doing part 7 of our Serpa holster problems test. In this test, we're testing the 1911 using a Serpa drop leg holster. Specifically, we've mounted a Serpa CQC holster to this Blackhawk drop leg platform. We're using a 1911. Now this 1911 in the test will be cocked and locked. As you can see, safety is on, hammer's cocked. And there's a very specific reason for this. And that reason is cocked and locked will show if the gun's malfunctioning. Now this firearm is unloaded, it's been verified as unloaded. So there's no chance of an accidental discharge should the problem exist that everybody claims. Now this test has been inspired, I should say, by the Tex Grebinar video. In that video, Tex Grebinar draws his 1911 and fires inadvertently, thereby wounding himself in the leg. Now this is a horrible accident. Nobody should ever be harmed while shooting. We don't want accidents to happen. And that's brought up a controversy about the Serpa that the holster is inherently dangerous. I disagree with that. We've had 6 parts of this test so far, and we've had incidents come up where it could be possible, but not really. I'm beginning to think that this error is one that's on the level of winning the lottery and getting struck by lightning twice in the same day kind of thing. It could happen, but it's rare. I will also go out on a limb here and state that I think Mr. Grebinar's pistol was malfunctioning. For the 1911 to malfunction in the way as demonstrated in his video, the safety would have to have been non-functional. So even if the design of this holster forced you by its very nature to put your finger onto the trigger, creating a dangerous situation, the safety on a 1911, if it were engaged, would prevent that. So either he A, did not engage the safety on his pistol, or B, it is malfunctioning. I'm going to give Mr. Grebinar the benefit of the doubt and say that his pistol must have been malfunctioning and that he had his safety activated. Our test here should prove that either your finger will inadvertently go to the trigger, creating an AD type situation, or that even if that happens, the safety would prevent it from going off. And if the fact that even if the holster is creating an inadvertent situation and causing your finger to go on the trigger where you can activate it during the draw stroke, the pistol safety should prevent that. Now, why is my contention that this is a rare instance? Look back at our previous videos. We were testing with Glocks, a pistol that had no manual safety whatsoever. And I had put ZEB triggers on them, which are lighter competition triggers versus your standard Glock trigger. Yes, we did have a couple instances like, wow, okay, my finger did go onto the trigger. But at the same time, the trigger didn't activate, the gun didn't go off. Draw your own conclusions from that. But the purpose of this series is to test how effective the Serpa is and if the problem, as stated by the internet, is actually true. Okay, from the last sequence you just saw, there was no accidental discharge. What happens here is drawing from the holster with a proper firing grip, your finger naturally lays on the button, and as you pull it out, it falls to the side of the firearm. I had the safety on. I detected no point was my finger going on the trigger. I didn't detect any attempt to pull the trigger. Now, step 2, we're going to turn the safety off, deactivate it, and see if the gun will let the hammer fall because my finger's inadvertently hitting the trigger. In the last sequence, there was one time my finger did inadvertently go on the trigger. Also, equally inadvertently, the safety was reactivated by my thumb. This is because I did not establish a proper firing grip. Now I find this interesting. I had an improper firing grip. I was able to get the pistol out of the Serpa. Aimed in, my finger went to the trigger only once I was aimed in, which is not the world's worst thing. But the action that caused my finger to go on the trigger inadvertently also inadvertently activated the safety. I'm trying out in a safe environment to try to recreate the conditions that leads to this Serpa safety problem people talk about all over the internet. So far, I've only had anecdotal evidence that shows that it's created. I'm keeping an open mind about this because this is a safety issue, and if the Serpa really is a unsafe holster, we want to get that information out there, but we want to get it out there with facts to back it up. I do believe there is the possibility of an issue there. And as I've said earlier in this video, and I've said in other videos in this series, I think it's winning the lottery and getting struck by lightning on the same day kind of rare. That doesn't mean that it can't happen and that you shouldn't be aware of it. Now, this series of videos has been testing all the different versions of Serpa. And one of the things I've said in earlier videos that I'd like to reiterate is when you say the word Serpa, it's like saying pickup truck. And there's a big difference between a Toyota Hilux and a Ford F-150, for example. And all the different models of Serpa, either by gun or by mounting system, lead up to a lot of different combinations. One of the conclusions that I'm starting to come to, in our series we've only been testing the drop leg, and from the drop leg we'll move to the duty offset, and then exclusively to the CQC. We're trying to, I believe one of the problems is that it's platform specific. So far in the testing it shows it's not much of an issue with the drop leg. I am thinking that if there is going to be an issue, it'll probably be with the CQC model in a belt mode. We'll see. We're going to work our way to that test, but by the time we get there and by the time we complete the series and whatever our final conclusion is, we'll have a lot of data to back up what we say. We hope you found this test of the Serpa holster interesting and informative. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for future holster tests.